I'm Richie Suave Flores.
And I'm Cori Crenshaw.
And this is Sporty with Cori and Richie Suave.
Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Down is the motion man. Little flip to Fitzgerald. He scores. And the Cardinals win an amazing game.
Mikhail Bucker with a chance. He walks in. He scores. Mikhail Bucker for the second straight game is the hero.
Welcome in, Sporty Nation. We have another wonderful episode for you. It's episode number 9. We are only one away from, you guessed it, episode number 10. We are going into double digits. We're pretty excited, and it went by kind of quickly. We didn't really expect to be going on to episode 10 so quickly and, moving up in the world.
We're going to be throwing a gigantic anniversary party for our 10th episode.
Ooh, anniversary party. There's not many beers that I like, but we'll have to find one that I do like and have some beers and pizza because I feel like that's the most sporty way to celebrate.
I agree, and I think we should do it with, I had a very delicious beverage at our production meeting on Friday. It's called Big Blue Van from, I believe, College Street Brewery up in Lake Havasu. It was delicious, and if you're listening, College Street Brewery, you should totally sponsor us. Give us free beer.
Sporty Nation, just start tweeting at them and whatever you can.
Yeah, exactly.
We always love a sponsorship.
So we have a big episode of the show coming up. We are going to talk about Shane Doan's retirement with Sarah Hall of 5forhowling.com and the Arizona Coyotes. And they have just finished up their series, Top 25 Under 25, so we'll get into that as well. And then, Cori, we're going to get into the preview of the Arizona Cardinals season, and then we're going back to Leanne Yu to discuss movies this time.
Yes, it'll be very interesting because somehow on Leanne Yu, on a deserted island where, everyone's trying to kill each other, we somehow found a Blu-ray player and a TV, and we were able to watch, and miraculously our 3 favorite DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever. And so we'll be watching those. Too bad we can't be watching sports, though, because that's what we mostly watch. Mm-hmm. And we're already in mourning from Doan's retirement and making all of us cry. Ergo, I am wearing my Doan jersey today because, it's the last big moment to wear it, so I had to wear it again. And, we'll have to ask Sarah about that in our interview, and definitely going to be a rough one it already has been a rough one, but we'll have to see what kind of emotion Sarah was going through when she read it all.
Now joining Cori and myself, we've been wanting to get her on for quite a while, and now a lot of news has happened as far as the Arizona Coyotes go in the last week or so, so we figure it's finally time to get Sarah Hall on from 5 for Howling. Sarah, thanks so much for finally getting to hang with us here on the show.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yes, and the invitation, we would love to come on your show as well, AZ Didn't Talk. So anytime you want to have us, we'd love to come on.
We'd love to have you. We're in the middle of just fixing a couple things, but we should be back up and running by the time season starts.
Yeah, looking forward to that. You can find that on 5forhowling.com. But Sarah, the big news of the week was, of course, the retirement of Shane Doan. He announced it in the Arizona Republic in a nice letter to fans. Cori and I have already discussed this quite a bit on a previous edition of the show, so that's why we kind of want to get you on and to talk about it as well. So when you first read his retirement letter, what went through your mind, and what are your thoughts about the fact that we're not going to see Shane Doan on the ice again?
It's kind of ironic because the day before I was thinking, I wonder when we're going to hear from Doan again. And I work overnights for my day job, and the tweet pops up from Gambo, and I'm like, okay. Then I read the piece. I got a little misty. It worked. It's weird. I admit I'm a newer Coyotes fan. I came in within the last 5 years, so I've always known Shane Doan as being like the Coyotes.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to imagine what it's going to be like without him. But on the other hand, I'm just glad he's not pulling a Madonna or an Alfredson.
I 100% I 100% agree. It was time for him to go. I kind of felt that way, after the Coyotes decided not to pick up his contract too. I figured this was going to be the end. I figured we're not he was going to be a fourth line player elsewhere, right? So it was about time for him to go. But I want to ask you one more thing on Doan before I turn it over to Cori. Cori and I have our favorite moments from Shane Doan, and we've talked about that in a previous edition of this show. But if you had to pick, let's go with one or two moments in the career of Shane Doan. What were some of your favorite memories from him?
The one that will stick out in my mind forever was New Year's Eve 2 years ago. All the hats raining down on the ice with 1 minute to go left in warm-ups because of the hat trick against Chicago, the Winnipeg Jets game, and then 380, the 380th goal of his career. It was just, that night was just, you could tell something special was going to happen. And of course it happened against the Jets. Mm-hmm. And personally for me, getting to interview him last year about Arizona hockey is something that I will never forget.
Obviously, now that he's left and there's a captain vacancy, everyone knows that it's going to be going to OEL. Do you think he can be the same type of captain and be the same type of person for the community that Doan was?
The thing with Oliver is he's a little quieter. I think we have seen that he does have the same little rage button that Shane Doan had, but he usually figures out how to weasel his way out of it so he doesn't get into a fight. But he's quieter. He's going to be more of a Lidstrom type. He's going to be the quiet captain, but he will still have the respect of everybody in the room because everyone knows how good Oliver is and what he's good at what he does. And he did wear the A last year. It shouldn't be that big of a change, but I think for the kids who are coming up who only knew Shane through camps, I think coming in with a fresh captain like Oliver, it'll be a little different, but it'll be okay when you realize that 90% of the roster and all the people they have signed are under the age of 25. He's just going to have a different style. I have full faith in Oliver Ekman-Larsson for being captain. It's going to be different.
You had mentioned that there are all these people on the roster that are under the age of 25. I think that's a great segment going into our question that we had for you about on 5 for Howling, your site, the top 25 under 25.
Yes.
So we were wondering how you guys came up with this idea, what kind of inspired it, and, kind of what your picks were.
So every year with SB Nation, we all get hit with the August doldrums of no content. And so last year, 5 for Howling did 21 under 21, which was basically was just the prospects, basically. This year, I wanted to do 25 under 25 because the last count, there are 31 players under contract that are under the age of 25, and there's 45 contracts on the books.
That's ridiculous. Was that 60% of the team is under 25? That is ridiculous.
60% of the team is under 25, and the oldest players on the team are 32. So, yeah, it was a bit of a kind of a shock. When I was doing the math, I was like, oh, cool, okay.
Yeah, 'cause I remember last year, Sarah, both of us kind of did the math a little bit, which is how young the roster was at the end of last season. And I don't remember the math off the top of my head, but I believe the average age was under 24. And now Shane Doan is no longer in the lineup. So we're going to get even younger, for goodness sake.
The Dallas game, 3 games before the end of the season, Verbata and Doan were both out. and the average age of that team was 22.1 years old.
I can tell you multiple times when we've had conversations about the night before certain players turning 21 and having speculations on how that night went. So that's how young this team is.
makes like most of us fans feel really, really old, doesn't it?
I feel ancient.
Although I was joking with Richie earlier, I think we should also do a ranking of best podcast / like YouTube show, best hosts of those under 25. Me being 23, I feel like that
Cori
would
would make the list. I'm aged out. I wouldn't make that list.
It's okay. Cori can make the list.
Yeah, exactly. I have a bone to pick with you too, Sarah, about this top 25 list. And I think you know where I'm going with this, because you know how much of a fan I am of number 8 in your scorebooks. Number 1 in my heart, Tobias Reeder. You had him ranked number 5 on the list, which I think is a little low. But I'm a little bit biased. So why number 5? Why not number 1?
Well, if he'd have been number 1, I'd have been totally cool with that too. Alex, one of our hot takery guys, he ranked him at number 13, so you can pick a bone with him. I had him personally ranked at number 8 because of all of the young talent that we have, that the Coyotes have. But he fell into number 5, which is a good space for him because he's still above Perlini and Strome and Duclair and Krause and Fisher. The top 10, if you haven't seen the 5 for Howling piece, is from 10 to 1. 10 is Christian Fisher, 9 is Lawson Krause, 8 Anthony Duclair, 7 Dylan Strome, 6 is Brendan Perlini, 5 Tobias Reeder, 4 Christian Dvorak, 3 Jacob Chikrin, 2 Clayton Keller, and number 1 was Max Domi. And guff we got for having Dylan Strome so low on the list.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I saw there's a piece that I believe it was you guys at 5 for Howling put out that was basically saying that he should switch to wing. And I thought that was a very, speaking of hot takes, I thought that was one of the hottest I've seen in a while.
He wasn't saying like permanently, but just until he gets his speed up. That was from Paul. He is one of our writers. He's actually in England. He's one of our hot takeists as well. But it makes sense if they put Keller at center and it works, they will have an extra wing spot. But I foresee them putting Clayton Keller at wing just to get him used to the NHL and then seeing if he can slide over to center.
Actually, Clayton Keller was one of the things I wanted to ask you about. You put, according to here where it said everyone's rankings, that you put Keller over Domi. Is there a particular reason why you did that?
Yes, I think Keller has a larger upside. There's a lot of people who are saying he's too small for the NHL. He's a little smaller than Domi, but Domi also is built like his father, so like a brick. So, but Keller is basically what you're looking for in the new NHL: the quick up the ice skill. He's just going to eat some goalies alive this year, I think. And there were 4 of us who ranked him number 1, who ranked Keller 1, and if we can get, because the 3 games he played last season, you can't really tell what he was capable of because they played him against the Blues and he played like 7 minutes. With Tocchet as coach, he's used to having very fast, very skilled forwards, and he'd probably be a power play guy. He wouldn't be a penalty killer, and probably he'd be in the top 6.
Sarah, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on Sporty. We do appreciate it. Before we let you go, where can the Sporty Nation find not only yourself in terms of social media, but 5 for Howling as well?
All right, you can find me at Sarah Howling, like the Coyote howls, and then you can find 5 for Howling at 5, the number 4, Howling on Twitter or 5forhowling.com, or go to SB Nation and look for the Coyote site, which is 5 for Howling.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Richie. Thanks, Cori.
We would like to thank Sarah Hall again for coming onto the show. Again, she's the editor for 5 for Howling, so go check that out if you want any of your Coyotes news. But now we're going to be moving into football and definitely week 1. Everyone's getting excited about it and starting to figure out where they're going to be watching week 1 and where everyone's starting to do their fantasy drafts. I know a lot of people on our team are doing that this week and leading up to the weekend. But I decided for my corner this week, in honor of it, that I was going to write down who I thought was going to win each game in week 1 this weekend. So we have to start with, on Thursday, the New England Patriots and Kansas City. Kansas City will be playing in New England. I chose Super Bowl champions, New England Patriots. In Arizona at Detroit, I chose Arizona, if you can't tell by the jersey. Pittsburgh at Cleveland, I chose Pittsburgh Steelers. ATL at Chicago, I chose the Atlanta Falcons. New York Jets, at Buffalo, I chose Buffalo Bills. Oakland at Tennessee, I chose the Oakland Raiders. Tampa Bay at Miami, Tampa. Jacksonville at Houston Texans, and, praying for everyone in Houston. Baltimore at Cincinnati, chose the Cincinnati Bengals. Philadelphia at Washington Redskins. And my upset of the week, which Richie is not very happy about because he is a Rams fan. And but I chose Indy over the newly LA Rams. And everyone thinks that this one is going to be a complete blowout because luck is out. But maybe they'll have still a little bit more luck on their side. Corny joke. Thank you. Seattle at Green Bay. Chose Green Bay. As a Vikings fan, that hurts. But also as a Cardinals fan, it also hurts to say Seattle would win. So, I thought if Seattle was at home and they had 12th man, then they would definitely be winning this one. But I think Green Bay has the edge at home. Carolina at San Fran. Chose Carolina. New York Giants at Dallas. I chose the Giants, partly because I am not a fan of the Cowboys. But otherwise, it's kind of a toss-up. New Orleans at Minnesota. Vikings fan, so chose Minnesota Vikings, of course, especially at home. Have you seen their new stadium? I mean, seriously. LA Chargers at Denver. I chose the Denver Broncos. I know that many of you will be disagreeing with many of my different choices. Go ahead and let me know which ones you think are, wrong, or you think that they will win and why, and I'd love to have a conversation with you guys about it. But that's my choices for week 1.
Cori, I'm very angry at you because you made the completely terrible choice of picking the Colts to beat the Rams in week 1. It's just not going to happen.
I had to have an underdog win one of the games.
I think you just did it to piss me off. Because now I'm angry coming into this segment to talk about the Cardinals.
That's exactly what it was. Last night, when we were all trying to decide, we're just like, yes, let's do the one that's going to piss Richie off the most.
I knew it. Because I'm not pissed off enough on this show ever. I'm too nice on this show a lot of times, so I need to be angry.
Oh yeah, your dick of the week does not bode enough anger.
Speaking of angry, there was a lot of Cardinals fans that were probably angry last season because the Cardinals didn't make the playoffs, even though they were expected to make a run for the Super Bowl. So we here at Sporty decided to come up with 3 storylines to follow for the Cardinals this season. And then we are also going to come up and pick what we believe their record to be. So, what is our first big storyline to look out for, Cori?
Well, of course, there is always Carson Palmer. He hit his peak in 2015, and 2016 didn't really come up to par, as we all know. And now he's coming into what is seeming to be his last season with the Arizona Cardinals. So definitely need to watch out for him, because his performance is going to be a big part of how this team does. But his performance will also depend on their O-line, because of the fact that if he doesn't have enough time in the pocket to figure out what he's doing, then he's definitely not going to be doing well this season. And one of the biggest problems last season was that the Cardinals allowed 127 QB hits, third most in the league. So for someone who has a history of being injured and having to go through knee surgeries and such, him getting hit is not particularly what this team needs. So I definitely think along with Palmer, we need to also look at the O-line and the importance that the O-line has to Palmer's performance.
Yeah, and the O-line goes straight into the David Johnson thing, which we'll get into in just a moment. But that QB pressure stat that you were just talking about, that's concerning.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy who's 37 years old, and you don't really have the best backups in the world with Drew Stanton and Blaine Gabbert, you need Carson Palmer to stay healthy, and be able to get the ball to David Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
20 to 15 times a game out of the backfield. So if Carson Palmer, and that was their biggest problem last year too, is Carson, he put up some decent numbers and he got better as the season went along, but the team kind of goes how Carson Palmer goes in a way. Like David Johnson put up great stats all season long, but they still, were 7-8-1 last year. They were still a 500 team. So if Carson can somehow in his last season, because I think it's going to be his last season, just like you said, find that 2015 form, then I think the Cardinals can at least contend for a playoff spot.
Yeah, he just has to mentally be able to see the field, and that's part of the problem that he was having last year, is the same mentality that he had in 2015 just was not there in 2016. He was not seeing the field like he was before. I don't know if it was the amount of pressure that was on him and he wasn't able to focus and really see it clearly, but something was really wrong with him mentally, and he wasn't really getting to a point where he could make the same plays that he was before. You have wonderful people downfield like Larry Fitzgerald who can pull literally catches out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like speed and talent isn't on his side, but I think his ability to see the field and see where he needs to place it and be able to do it in time will be dependent upon how much protection he has in the pocket.
Exactly. And that leads us into our second kind of storyline this year, which is David Johnson's pursuit of 1,000 season. He was very close to getting 1,000 rush yards and 1,000 receiving yards last year, and unfortunately, he got hurt in the final game of the season and wasn't able to get there. But he's another one who is a big key for me, because he has to. If he gets hurt, just like Carson Palmer, Cardinal season's over. He's got to stay healthy, and he is the biggest. He's their. I will say this: he's their best wide receiver. It's not Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald is a good, second option to have, and he can probably put up 1,000 yards. But David Johnson's going to be Carson Palmer's first look. He's going to be his first option pretty much every play, I think.
Well, that's what part of the thing with David Johnson is. He is so great on both sides of it, where he's a great running back, and he's also great further down the field as well. And so the big thing with him is he is known for being so versatile, and the fact that in almost every fantasy football rankings, he's number one, because he's the one that's going to be racking up your points. He actually kind of reminds me a little bit, being also a Vikings fan, my dad's from Minnesota, that he reminds me of AP. How many years did the Vikings rely on AP to be the one that they were constantly looking for to make those yards and make up the problems that they were having in their pass game and
they still went nowhere.
They still didn't go anywhere. Exactly. It was one of those problems that they had where they didn't have a really good quarterback for a while. Their O-line was constantly sinking, and they couldn't do anything. Every single draft, I was going, okay, well, are we going to do anything about this? They never did. They focused way too much on AP.
Mm-hmm.
It gets noticed halfway through the season, and then halfway through the season, they figure out a way to stop him from doing what he does. Halfway through the season, they're going to stop DJ from doing what he does. So I just don't understand the emphasis that they're putting on him, because if they solely focus on him, nothing will ever get done.
And that's going to go into our third point as well, which is because now that teams are so keyed in on David Johnson, they know he's going to be that number one option in the run game and in the pass game, then they can key on him and they can game plan around him. And that's what happened with, to use a Rams point, last year with Todd Gurley in his second season in the NFL. He ran for less than 1,000 yards because that was literally the entirety of the Rams offense revolved around Todd Gurley, and teams were able to stack the box, so he had no room to run. And I have a feeling that's what's going to happen with the Cardinals this year, is that defensively teams are going to have finally figured out that, we probably should stop David Johnson, and we're going to let everybody else beat us, including Larry Fitzgerald, including John Brown, including J.J. Nelson. And to me, that is the biggest point for me this year is going to be the wide receiver depth, because they don't have any. They flat out don't have any. They have John Brown, who was hurt last year. We had sickle cell, obviously, but he's got all the talent in the world. J.J. Nelson is a burner. He's fast as hell too, but he still hasn't proven anything. John Brown still hasn't really proven anything either. And it worries me that they don't really have a lot of options in the pass game.
Well, if Arians is at a point where he actually puts pressure on his O-line to perform, and Palmer has enough time in the pocket to do what he can do and actually view the field the way he used to in 2015, then it might be a way for them to show their true talent that they have, because they can use DJ as a distraction. And that's one of the big things that they were able to do with Fitz for a lot of years, is Fitz was that distraction. So why don't we just use him as a distraction downfield and then use that as a way for them to finally show their talents? They're fast as hell. Yeah. Why don't they just use their speed and, hone in their skills? I think this would be the perfect opportunity for that.
Yeah, so with all that said and those three things out of the way, what are you predicting as far as the Cardinals' record goes? Do you think they're going to make the playoffs?
I think if they do, they won't go too far in the playoffs. It will be another one of those seasons where they do average, but then it won't. I think a lot of people will put pressure on this season being a good one because of the fact that for some of the most key people on this team, it's going to be their last season. So they're going to try and put all they have out there for it, but I don't really think it will be one for the long haul.
Yeah, this team's not making the playoffs. Plain and simple. They just don't. They lost too much on defense. I'm not a big fan of Justin Bethel. He's playing across from Patrick Peterson at that corner position. They're going to pick on him pretty much the entire season because Patrick Peterson's one of the best, and you're wearing his jersey right now. Patrick Peterson's the best cover corner in the league. Mm-hmm. This team is at best, I think this team is a 9-7 team. They're good, but they're not great, and I don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs. They have to literally have everything go right for them in order to make the playoffs. So 9-7 is my prediction.
I would say somewhere around there as well. I think it's really going to depend on Bruce Arians and what he puts forth in this team and what he emphasizes in this team this season, but we'll have to see how it really goes. So,
Cori, you think 10-6?
Yes, I do think 10-6.
Which might be enough to get them in the playoffs.
Yes, that's why I said so. They might be on the edge there, but nowhere farther.
We'll find out over the next couple months. They open up their season against Detroit coming up on Sunday. But before that, it's now time for what we do every week in the third segment of our program, which is the pop culture segment. So this week we are going back to Lee and you, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite movies.
Yes, we will name our top 3 movies, which I think actually say a lot about our character as people, because you'll understand once you hear them.
Yes. So who wants to go first?
Why don't you go first,
Okay,
Richie?
I will go first. Thank you very much, Cori. So 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just list my 3 movies. Let's do it that way. I was actually this was a tough one because I came up with 2 pretty quickly, and then the third one I was a little iffy on. But so Saving Private Ryan, Dumb and Dumber, and Toy Story. I ended up picking as my third one.
Oh, I honor Toy Story. That one was a surprise.
Yeah, I tried to kind of mix and match my genres a little bit. I tried to pick movies that I can rewatch on a consistent basis, and Saving Private Ryan is very close to being my favorite movie of all time. It's one of those movies that makes me cry too, damn it, at the end of it, every freaking time. When at the very end of the movie, spoiler alert, when he's at the grave of Captain Miller, Private Ryan is, and he's asking his family, did I do good? Did I do good by Captain Ryan? And that's like, oh, come on. Tears every time.
Everything about that movie is sad.
Well, but it's still uplifting in a way because he goes on to become a teacher, and
That's true.
yeah.
There's a good point there.
So Saving Private Ryan, my first one. Dumb and Dumber's the second one. The movie is one of the funniest movies of all time. I can watch it over and over again. Jim Carrey is my favorite actor comedically. He's hilarious. I can quote the movie endlessly. Do you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world, Corey?
Sure.
I can't do what they did in that movie. So.
I can see everyone's face in the room getting like scared so quickly.
and then Toy Story because I want to pick like something a little bit different. It's a little bit fun, and Buzz and Woody. There we go. Buzz and Woody. God, it's been a while since I've seen that movie. Buzz and Woody. I love those 2 guys.
They're really cute with like Andy written on their foot. I
Yes.
love Toy Story, and in the last one when they almost got incinerated by the trash can, it was very sad. Talk about sad moments. That
Yeah.
was very sad. Until the claw.
Yes. So what are your 3?
My 3, everyone who knows me knows my favorite series of all time would be the Die Hard series. So it would be Die Hard, then Independence Day, because it's never over until the fat lady sings, and Top Gun. But I would like to give an honorable mention to the Underworld series because I also love and adore those. I own them all.
So what? Why? So why? Let's kind of go just quick. Why for Die Hard? Why Independence Day? Why Top Gun?
Die Hard because you just have to love those. How can you not like John McClane and all of his antics that he goes through every single...
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Yes. And it's good, old-fashioned action movie where he kicks everyone's ass and you feel like a badass watching it.
Absolutely. I love Die Hard. Plus it has Snape in it too, playing Hans Gruber.
Mm-hmm. And then, his brother comes back and what is that? Die Hard 3.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Samuel Jackson.
Oh, you know what it is.
Yeah,
so proud.
I love the Die Hard series too as
so
well.
Proud. Yeah, that one's great. And he has to wear he meets Samuel Jackson when he's like wearing the racist sign that Han's brother makes him wear in the middle of like the blackest neighborhood he could find. And he tries to save him. That's so funny. I absolutely love all the Die Hard ones. I love Independence Day because it is just a classic. I absolutely love it. It's so funny, and it was if I had to say, probably one of Will Smith's best works. I absolutely adored him in that movie, and it was just so funny, and it was so well put together. And then it's always really funny if you've ever watched the Austin Powers movies where he says that he's going to blow up the White House, and they use a scene from Independence Day, and he goes, just kidding. And they're like all hiding under the desk, and they're like, destruction report, and all freaking out. And he's like, I'm just kidding. That's a scene from Independence Day. So I always laugh because they, another set of movies I like, they put it into. But then as for Top Gun, a lot of my family members were, my dad's a mechanic for airplanes actually. And a lot of my family members were in the Air Force. This is obviously the Navy, because I know someone's going to point that out to me. I know it's the Navy, but planes, big part of my family. So the whole Top Gun thing hits me in the soul.
You know what I feel the need for, Cori? I feel the need for speed.
You have to say, I feel the need for speed, and then we high five.
We'll do that after the show.
Okay.
Those were good picks. I actually like all 3 of those movies.
Thank you.
Yes. I know you do not like Dumb and Dumber, which is that's sacrilege. You're not. They might revoke your American citizenship for that reason.
For Dumb and Dumber?
For not liking Dumb and Dumber.
It's dumb and dumber.
Which is why it's freaking hilarious.
And I love comedies, and you're usually the one that rips on me about comedies.
Yeah.
I am the biggest comedy action person. If it makes me laugh or makes me feel like a badass, I love it.
Dumb and Dumber will make you do that.
I don't know why. I can't laugh at it.
I'm excited, Cori, because we're going to do a little bit change up here in the final segment.
Yes, we are finally going to have a non-dick of the week. It's going to be Richie's Citizen of the Week, which is beautiful. It's very beautiful, Richie. I'm glad that you've come around to the light side where you're going to bring out the brightness in the world instead of the darkness. It's beautiful, Richie. I appreciate it.
That is right, Cori. I want to change things up a bit this week in light of Hurricane Harvey. I feel like there's a lot of negativity in the world. So this week I want to bring to light the positivity of sports. And in this case, my citizen of the week this week is going to be J.J. Watt from the Houston Texans. What he has done to raise money for the victims of Hurricane Harvey and the floods in Houston has been nothing short of amazing. We're taping this on Sunday afternoon, and this is going to change by the time you guys watch or listen to this. $18 million in what? 2 weeks raised by J.J. Watt, including some big donations from several sports owners, including, I believe, some of the other Houston teams have donated. So almost $18.5 million for J.J. Watt for the Houston Families Relief is awesome. And I wish there were more people like J.J. Watt in the world who can bring to light the positivity of sports. And so, J.J. Watt, I want to say thank you, sir, for what you have done and raising money for Hurricane Harvey. And that's going to do it for this edition of Sporty with Cori and Richie Suave. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this episode of the show. Stay tuned later in the week because we do have a surprise coming for you that you're going to want to see on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for hanging out. Good night and good sports, everybody.